We all know that corruption is the abuse of public possession for private gain, and we also know the ill effects of corruption in this country, anywhere in the world. It has been mentioned in the morning, issues of making the poor even poorer, poor access to services, public services. We know the international dimensions of corruption, issues of money laundering, terrorism, smuggling. So it's not a gospel that this report is preaching. It's something that we are already suffering from, something that we know. So I must mention that the survey was conceptualized in the context that Nigeria has done put quite some effort in fighting corruption. It is not something new that we are telling the government to do. The context is that we know right from, as a country, right from all the regimes, whether civilian, whether military, there is at one point or the other pronouncements, legal efforts, and all this to fight corruption. We had several indicators that we used to derive the level of corruption as experienced by ordinary citizens. The first indicator is the likelihood of encountering bribery. What is the likelihood or the probability that an ordinary citizen interacting with a certain institution would be expected to pay a bribe? And this was derived as per the formula. That is the total number of bribe demand situations in a particular institution as a proportion of the number of interactions recorded in that institution. So how many interactions involving bribery were recorded in a particular institution as a function of the total number of interactions in that institution. So if institution X, there were 500 interactions where a bribery was involved, what proportion of that in terms of all the interactions?
What is the perception on corruption level based on our findings? Based on our findings, we have, because the questionnaire is actually a semi-structured one, which give opportunity for them to actually express their own opinion in terms of open-end questions. And also we have a pre-coded answers for them. For their own perception when it comes to current level of corruption in Nigeria, we have rather high, medium, low, and I don't know. Which as a researcher, we don't read, I don't know for them. We allow it to come to them, to come spontaneously from them. Nigerians still believe that the current level of corruption is still high, is as high as 69.2%. Those people that believe that it's just a medium, we have 12.2%. And those people that believe that corruption is actually going low is just 15.5%. And this, I don't know, 3.1. I don't know is as if they don't even know what is happening.
From the numerous interviews that we conducted with the general public and also experts, it points to a level of appreciation of the ramifications of corruption in the country over the decades. So these recommendations respond to the issues picked up in the survey. So the first set of recommendations is to the federal government of Nigeria. Number one, we recommend that an independent commission of inquiry with subpoena power to conduct a transparent, comprehensive, and impartial investigations into systemic corruption within the Nigeria police force and the judiciary, as well as the ministries of power, education, and health, is established. It's also recommended for that prosecutions without delay and according to international fair trial standards are conducted on anyone implicated in corruption and other serious abuses within the sectors that we had focused on, that is the police, the judiciary, the power, education, and health sectors. The other recommendation is improvement of financial oversight of the Nigeria Police Force, the Ministries of Power, Education, and Health, and also publication of quarterly budget execution reports by all the 5 sectors studied. And then in addition to this is an independent financial audit of the Nigeria Police Force and the Ministries of Power, Education, and Health by qualified auditing company that conforms to international standards for auditing public sector entities. And other than this, ensure that the audit report is made public. The next set of recommendations goes to the National Assembly. You realize that we had some findings on what needs to be, or where the gaps are in terms of the legal framework for the fight against corruption. So as a result of this, we have recommended that the National Assembly is more proactive in the fight against corruption by passing the Proceeds of Crime Bill, the Whistleblowers Bill, and the Witness Protection Bill, among others. That the National Assembly should also immediately publish all reports of investigations on corruption and corruption-related matters in the judiciary, education, power, health, and education and sectors, among others, that have been conducted by the National Assembly since the return of democracy in 1999. And then the other recommendation is to urgently amend the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Act to ensure public access, including by defining specific terms and conditions for public access to asset declarations of public officials as provided by the Nigerian Constitution of 1999.
The reality of the survey that is shown, I think it generally just confirms the things that we know, that there's a lot of corruption in the country, that there's no sector that is free from corruption, whether it's the police or education sector, or you're talking about the power sector or the judiciary. The levels differ, but definitely there is corruption everywhere. It confirms our reality, and it is really a sad reality. All the recommendations from the SERAP report are important. Regulations, publication of budgets, and regular reports, holding those who have stolen to account, and all of that. But we do need to do some drastic things as a nation. I think the first thing is that as a nation, we all need to agree that corruption is wrong. I think that as a nation, we cannot permit it. We cannot say it's okay. We cannot say, give excuses why we must be corrupt. And I think that is a major thing. That is even a bigger elephant in the room. The fact that we accept that corruption is permissible, that we can go ahead and be corrupt. I think that is the first thing that we have to fight as a country. There are so many other countries that have corruption. In fact, there's no country that there is no corruption in. But as a people, they agree that it is wrong and it must change.
Like we have said, the report is not meant to indict the government or the agencies. It just shows us that we have a lot of work to do, particularly in those sectors, the health, the education, the energy, the police and the judiciary sectors. And we have laws already. We have enough laws already. Not that they are enough, but we have more laws. As part of the recommendations, of course, we recommended that the Whistleblowers Bill should be passed into law, and the Proceeds of Crime Bill too should pass into law. But we have some laws that I believe should be better implemented, and it's part of the recommendations SERAP has made. Now, we must understand that those figures came out from a research in a survey conducted, and so that's the opinion of the people, not necessarily that of SERAPs. So each agency will have to take what has been said and find a way to work at it, particularly in view of our recommendations. So it is not necessarily because the police have 54% and 63% prevalence and likelihood of bribery. That is not an indictment. It is the people perceive them to be so. And so if it is to be public in the way they do their things, or to be more anti-corruption compliant, either way they should do something.
The report shows where we are in terms of the fight against corruption, and where it projects us also to us where we need to be in terms terms of the fight against corruption. It shows, in a manner of speaking, that there is still more to be done in terms of the fight against corruption. And that, to me, is very key. All Nigerians must form themselves into a vanguard of anti-corruption agents so that we can really make substantial progress.
A lot has been said, and we have seen how dirty we are. So from the recommendations that we sent, and from even our findings, I don't want to talk about methodology and the scope of this report, from the findings and the recommendation, we call on the authorities to do something about it. SERAP does something. Anytime we have programs like this, we send recommendations to different agencies of government, and we want them to take action. We want them to take action. We want even the citizens to take action themselves, because there's a finding in the report that said 54.6 or 54.9% of citizens interviewed said that they have never reported incidences of corruption and bribery. Then what are we talking about? Then why are we fighting corruption? Then why are we shouting that there's corruption in the land when we ourselves have never taken action against corruption? So it's a call to action. It's a demand, on the side of the citizens and even the government agencies. The political will on the part of authorities that fight corruption, should be stronger. Because to be sincere with you, there are times when there are incidents of corruption being reported, but authorities who these incidents are reported to look the other way. Some of them are lackadaisical, towards the fight against corruption. Some of them do not fight corruption because probably they have been bribed or because they are kickbacks. But that is not to say that the fight against corruption is not ongoing. It's just that it is not as strong as it should be.